Hey everyone, welcome. Third day of the season. Before we
Yee.
start, I want to talk a little bit of Phillies.
God.
Yeah, I actually do too.
Yeah,
Go
yeah.
ahead.
So
Go ahead,
I'm
Russ.
going to talk about the Bryce Harper controversy because,
Yeah, I have a different Bryce Harper controversy. So let me
yeah,
talk about the other one first that
go
should be
ahead.
getting talked about.
Yeah, go ahead.
So the one that's not getting talked about and should be a little bit of a controversy was the throat slash. The throat slash is never a good look when a
Yeah,
player does that. The NFL has outlawed it for good reason. And honestly, you never know the reason behind it, right? Like the player could say whatever it is. Hey, I was doing it to the Braves. Hey, I was doing it to whatever. But if you're watching it at home, it's not a good look. And so my feeling is if I could get through to Bryce Harper, I'd say, look, I'm okay with any of your other stuff that you do. I don't care if you stare at guys. I don't care if you do the bat flip. I don't care if you pump your fist. Don't do that. I just think that's a bad look.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't know that he did it.
Yeah,
I
I
was
don't
concentrating
disagree.
most.
I mean, he does
I
that
was
when he goes
concentrating.
like this. After he gets the home run when he comes into home plate.
What does he do?
At home plate, I think he did it.
He did that. He did that at home plate.
Like how I understand it is that when he came, I thought he was doing Phillies when he got to home plate. I didn't think that was like a throat slash thing.
No, it was a throat slash.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
anytime you have the thumb there, there's no other explanation for it.
yeah. If you remember, Russ, the wrestler who did that all the time was Chris Benoit.
Yes.
Right.
And then we know what happened with him and his family. So not exactly the greatest look. Like I said, I was concentrating mostly on hockey yesterday. I didn't, because I really don't have a horse in this race. I mean, I understand that because it's Philadelphia and Anthony is into it as well. And, they seem to have the Braves number, but I was honestly unaware of this sort of controversy until just now.
It's a little hard not to like the Phillies, Mike, because I mean, I'm not.
No. I'm not saying I like them or I hate them.
I'm just saying, like, I'm not. You guys know I'm not really necessarily a baseball fan, but I will watch them.
I just don't have a horse in the like. I
don't either, but I'm watching. But what's the other?
The other one was when he's rounding. When he's rounding second, he stares at Arcia. You heard about this, right? I just think that's awesome. I don't see any problem with that whatsoever.
I don't have a problem with it.
I mean, honestly, and the third slash sucks. I didn't even know about that one, if that's the case. But I was gonna, say that I just think that, when you look at athletes who make a lot of money, and he's an athlete who makes a lot of money, he really is worth the price of admission. Like, he is one of the guys who you definitely. I mean, he's a special athlete. He's a special guy. Like, as far as his game goes.
Yeah.
I mean, he's a great athlete. He's a clutch guy. Like, he knows he's got flair for the dramatic at moments. He's a terrible fielder. But
well, he can't throw anymore because of his Tommy John surgery. I almost wish, Russ, that a team that I root for had been interested in him instead of passing on him.
Yeah. I mean, that's fair.
No, but I mean, he really is like the epitome. Like, he really plays well in Philly too. Like, it's just like that stare thing goes a long way in Philly. Like, that's the kind of thing that they like here.
Yeah, I think that's fine. And actually, that thing has gotten more legs because Arcia said that people are taking stuff out of the clubhouse, and by telling Harper they violated a trust. It's like, listen, dude, unless you're telling somebody this is off the record, and you say that before you say it, it's not off the record.
No,
and that's, to me, that's a big problem. And I'll also there was a member of the Braves media that was complaining about the sprinkler going off and hitting some of the Braves media with water. And I can tell you this, that the Phillies are crazy about that grass. I remember being down there for the Winter Classic, and they were like, don't step on the grass. Don't step on the grass. And I was down there for something else, and it was the same thing. So I get it. They probably water it like 10 times a day. Yeah. I don't think they were aiming for the Braves media, and I think they should just never post something like that. It looks childish.
Yeah, just do the tomahawk chop. That'll take care of it.
Yeah, that stadium is pretty rocking for a baseball stadium, and I mean, it really is something.
No, the atmosphere is great.
Let me just explain where I am right now, just briefly here, because the Sabres season opener against the Rangers is tonight, and I'm I'm in the parking ramp right next to the arena, and this could be the weirdest parking ramp in history because every time a car goes by, you feel the concrete, like the rumble of the concrete. It like gives. It's like it's on springs.
Solid.
It honestly doesn't feel safe. You know what I'm saying? I'm waiting for the ceiling to collapse.
But we're gonna hope that doesn't happen, Mike, today.
Well, I hope so.
Let's get started. We got a lot to do. We're gonna have the Western Conference. We have the
And some games to talk about.
games last night. Some really interesting games last night too, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
So here we go. Hello, Hockey World. It is Thursday, October 12th, 2023.
I'm Mike. No, wait a second. Come on. I'm always first, Russ. I'm Michael Agello, and my nickname is not Pancake.
No, it's the Undertaker, because you kind of look like an Undertaker right now.
we all got. Go ahead, Russ.
I'm Russ Cohen from.
That's Russ Cohen. I'm Eklund, and we all got to the memo to wear black today, obviously.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
You're watching HockeyBuzzcast on HockeyBuzz.com. This is the podcast that comes to you every Monday through Friday to fill you in the comings of the hockey world. Sorry about my alarm. Okay, so last night we got some games, and I want to start with I know the game that you were watching, Mike, and our buddy Karen was watching. The Montreal Canadiens and Maple Leafs, who never fail to disappoint. Who never disappoint on an opening night. Like they just have like great games.
Whoa! What are you talking about? Because last year they go to Montreal.
Yeah.
Season opener, and first of all, at NHL, I talked to somebody who used to be in broadcasting, and said, does it have to be Montreal, Toronto every year? It's sort of getting a little old and stale. It's like, it doesn't have, save that for a Saturday night. It doesn't have to be the opener of the league. And he's like, well, it gets good ratings. I'm like,
What's
okay,
wrong
fine.
With these people? What's wrong with the person who said that?
No. He was saying that the Sportsnet or that they want it because that it's signature TV. On me as a fan, it's like I like variety. It's you can put Montreal, Toronto on a Saturday night and it's fine. But anyway, last year,
I don't have that many hockey traditions, Mike. Just
last year, the Leafs went to the Bell Center and promptly laid a complete egg because the Canadiens suck. They're one of the worst teams in the league. Now, they got some good young talent and they're building, but they're one of the worst teams in the Eastern Conference, as I predicted they would be 8th, and typical of the Leafs, as they have done repeatedly over the last few years. They play down to their opposition. Like they lose to Arizona, they lose to Chicago. That's just what they do. And they did that yesterday in terms of falling behind 2-0 and actually 3-0. Had there was a replay that was an offside. That turned the game around for them. They got 3 goals in a row. They're leading 3-2 in the third period, and then they gave up 3 goals to Montreal, and it's 5-3. And only by the grace of God and Austin Matthews did they bounce back, get 2 extra attacker goals, tie it up, and then win in the shootout. It was exciting. Yeah. But it was sloppy, and the thing is, it's like I look at this in the grand scheme. You could say it was entertaining and it was exciting. The motivation here for the Leafs is to win the Stanley Cup. I know that's a laugh since that they haven't won one in 56 years, but that's where this team is at in terms of their focus and the way they played last night. There's not a chance in hell they're winning the Stanley Cup. They got to be better.
They had more time this season to figure it out, Mike.
Well, no, it's game 1, but I'm saying, good teams come out at the outset and play like they're good teams. And they were very, even the players in the locker room after that says, we got lucky that we were able to come back. This is a team that their concerns, goal scoring is not the concern. Their concern is keeping the puck out of their own net. Samsonov was not.
Yeah. I mean, that line, the Newhook, Caulfield, Doc, they looked really fun. That was a fun line.
I told you getting Newhook was going to be massive.
You were right about Newhook. And then when I'm watching that, because I wasn't thinking as much about Newhook as until yesterday when you talked about him on the show. And I was watching him in that game, and I'm like, wow, this is something. This is like.
Well, it was new. It was
line, and Doc is another guy who we've all liked, and has been in different kinds of injuries and different kinds of situations. But man, if this line stays together.
Yeah, it was Newhook, Doc and Slavkovsky set up Newhook on his first goal, and I actually thought he looked really good, Russ, at times. But again, one of the concerns, and we had this last year, and he was hit multiple times. He got walloped by Jake McCabe in the first period. He's a big kid. He's a strong kid, but he doesn't protect himself well. And he's got to learn that, or he's going to be a target.
Yeah. Speaking of targets, I did get a chuckle because for whatever reason, Ryan Reeves thought he would target Jack-Eye, and he got beaten pretty badly.
He didn't target Jack-Eye. First of all,
he did with a hit. Like, he hit him.
He didn't hit Jack-Eye. He hit somebody.
No, you're right. He hit Gould, but Jack-Eye jumped in.
Right, and Jack-Eye jumped on him, and he got the better of him. He knocked him over the net, but then Jack-Eye got the extra for instigating. So in a sense, we know Reeves is a limited player. He played 8 minutes last night. He's there to stir the pot. He's there to
fighter now. That's my point.
Right. Well, Russ, I mean, it really wasn't much of a fight. He shoved him over the net. There was like 3 punches, and he pushed him over the net. So I don't think it's really a test of Reeves's fighting ability that Jack-Eye pushed him over the net. So we'll see the next.
I should ask the chat room, because when he got up slow. Like, that was not fun for Ryan Reeves. Like, he took bumps there, man.
No, but he was able to do. He did this, and oh boy, whoop-de-doo.
But you need to be a little bit louder, Russ. You're a little quiet. I don't know why, but
what's that?
Russ is a little quiet. His voice is.
Oh, okay. Well, I thought you were going to say I was. I thought you were going to say I was quiet.
Mike, you're loud as hell. But yeah, Mike is quiet. Mike's loud as hell, but Russ is just a little quiet.
Okay, I'll quiet down.
No, you're fine. It's just you're in a car.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, so I was impressed with the Canadiens. I mean, and now granted, okay. They got doubled up on shots pretty much, like trying to have doubled up on shots. I mean, they were, but I like, and you can tell you want to. Yeah, they play down to teams. It's the Canadiens Leafs. They always give. It's always anyone can win that game anytime, no matter how good either team or how bad either team is. It's just it's the Canadian Leafs. That's the way it goes.
I like some of the pieces. Caulfield is a sniper. He's dangerous. Suzuki is a really good player. I think Doc is pretty decent. The Newhook addition was pretty good. Gooley is a good young defenseman. There's like 7 or 8 good players on that team that, when they're a playoff team, are going to be part of it. But there is a bunch of crap on that roster too. And that's the thing. It's like they're an incomplete team. I mean, any team that has Jonathan Kovacic,
but I was impressed with, like I said, some of the young goal scoring, and I knew that Newhook would be a good fit there, and he was. I knew it. I picked him up in fantasy, and I got 14 points out of it, just to show everybody.
Oh, jeez,
that's pretty good. No, it was not too bad. All right, so a couple other games last night that were interesting for sure, but the one game we got to talk about is was of course Vancouver. I'm glad Mike left for this one. Vancouver, Edmonton. I'm sure he'll be back, but let's talk without it.
This
because,
one,
before Mike rips Campbell the entire time.
Yes. Well, you can rip them both.
He's back. I might put him back in. We're going to talk about Edmonton without him for a little bit. So Mike, he's backstage. All right, fine.
Are you kidding me?
Hi, Mike. How are you doing?
Please. Okay. Somebody I respect, Elliot Friedman, picked the Edmonton Oilers to win the Stanley Cup. And even a broken clock is right twice a day. In this instance, Elliot Friedman is not right, because this team, when we do our predictions, I'm going to predict them to barely make the playoffs, because again, a team with 2 of the best players in the game, in Draisaitl and McDavid, should not be this bad. Now, it was one game, I understand that, but come on. I mean, their goaltending, Jack Campbell is a sieve. He's been a sieve since he left Toronto.
They both gave up.
Well, they both were sieves. But I'm saying, Jack Campbell looked really bad. Come on.
He looked terrible. McDavid, like dancing in the chat room. David and Draisaitl didn't look good either. It's just one of those games. This is a game that really I thought said more about the Canucks, and this was like a statement game.
Said more about the Canucks too.
This was really. This is Edmonton coming out totally awful, like really just not showing up for the season. But the Canucks, this is This is Elias Pettersson. This is Besser, 4 goals. This is
Elias Pettersson freight training Cody Ceci, which was very interesting.
This is the Canucks team that I, for 2 years, have been like saying that they are going to be a powerhouse, and they've been 2 years they've been terrible. So we're going to get into their predictions where I put them and all that stuff, where you guys put them in just a second. But the reality is you could tell this is a frustrated team that went through a year last year that the Canucks year last year was just so crazy and bizarre. And it just, if you remember, they couldn't win. They lost how many one-goal games in a row? They were so close on so many instances. This was definitely taking some frustrations out.
There were 2 things that I took out of this game.
Mm-hmm.
Nice to see Besser back with the 4 goals. That's great.
Yeah.
They definitely tried to run the score up, which it could come back and haunt them later in this season. So that's something where game 1, do you really want to run up the score? Okay.
Well. Time out. No. Let me just interject there, because Edmonton has consistently run it up on Vancouver, and this was comeuppance. That's all. I just wanted to put that in there.
And then I hope that Demko's okay. He threw up in his mask. I mean, that's
yeah.
They
had to take him out of the game, like he was.
Yeah, he had the flu.
Actually done that, which is not a nice feeling at all.
Not a nice feeling.
But yeah, I've done that too.
Yeah, somebody to clean it off. You probably threw it in the bag and took it home.
Yeah, I don't think I've opened the bag since. Actually, I think it's in the garage right now. Been sitting out there since 2021.
Oh God.
Yeah, so there you go. But no, I liked what I saw from them. I liked what I saw from the Flames last night against the Jets. Like, I thought that was, and again, I'm gonna stick with my.
Here we go.
Big Jets. No, I'm just saying that's all I'm going to say about that. We know the bet. We right now we'll see right now.
There's no chest thumping after 1 game.
No, I'm not jumping chest. And then the Avalanche and Kings. This is more of a disappointment for the Kings, in my opinion, than anything else. Like, this game was, this Kings team has people put a lot on them. A lot of people are picking them to make the playoffs, as like an assured thing. And I think that's really early. And I thought we'll get to that, but I'm not saying I'm not picking to make the playoffs, but I do think that they have a chance. And then again, they're also playing Colorado.
But okay, and we see this with a number of teams, and we just talked about it with Edmonton. You've got a forward group with Fiala, with Kopitar and Deno, and they add Dubois, and you've got Doughty on defense, and there's a lot of pieces there. And then you look at the goaltending, and it's Phoenix Copley and it's Cam Talbot. I mean, they're going to be one of these teams that's looking for a goaltender at the deadline but the thing is, it's like you have to get through the season. And the thing is, I don't know if their goaltending is good enough to get them to the promised land. You need to compile points before you get to the deadline. So,
both of those always have the ability to be good at times. Obviously, Copley, we've seen it. Talbot has had some really good years recently. So, it's
but not the last couple years, Zach. Not the last couple years.
I
mean, he was not good, and then he was
2 years ago. He was good, Mike. Not last
year.
He was
Copley last year, which was crazy.
But he was not good last year, and then he got injured in Ottawa.
No, last year he was not good, but 2 years ago in Minnesota, he was a really
he was good a couple of years ago.
And very controversial. Remember when they took him out for the playoffs and all that stuff.
The Copley part that they're same way that Edmonton was hoping, because what they saw out of Campbell in preseason was going to hold out, and it didn't. The Kings were hoping that, all right, well, Copley was good last year. I guess he's good, and now they may have to rethink that too.
Yeah. I mean, the Bruins Blackhawks game was an interesting one too, only from the fact that we got the first goal from.
One thing I wanted to mention from the Colorado.
Yeah, go ahead.
When I was on Sirius, it's 2 days ago. Well, what's today? Thursday. 2 days ago. I was asked, who's going to be in top 5 in scoring, who wasn't the year before, and I said Mikko Rantanen. And I said it because I know it's hard for a guy to get 100 points in this league and be underrated, but he is.
He really is.
Talked about enough. He's a force. The fact that he got 4 points, I wasn't shocked. And I think he goes well over 100 this year. I just think, look, if you put Rantanen on some other teams, he's still going to be great. I think at times he's better than Draisaitl. I do. And some people might argue that. but I think it's an arguable point. Like, I think he's very close.
I think they're different players, and
They
I
are
think
different players.
but I do think that that he does some things better than Draisaitl for sure, and he does some things as well as anybody does those things in the league.
Yeah.
I mean, when he comes down to it, like he's shooting while moving, he's ridiculous. Like there's certain things that he just does that are just crazy. Bedard got his first goal. Not a big deal, but still, Taylor Hall's hurt. That's a problem.
Yeah.
I feel bad for Hall. I mean, this is like such a. I thought this was such the perfect setup for him. I like Taylor Hall. He's a good guy, and it's just like this is the perfect setup for him to be playing.
Yeah, but this is par for the course. Like he's been hurt everywhere. I mean, he was injured.
No, there's no question he's been hurt everywhere, and it's what sucks. I mean, I feel bad because the guy is, just I don't know that he's injury prone. I mean, or just unlucky.
Well, what other conclusion can you draw? He gets hurt everywhere.
I think there's unluckiness involved in this too. Like I don't, not
every
player.
The only year in recent memory he didn't get hurt, he was an MVP. So
yeah,
no, that's what I'm saying. I mean, and so I was really hoping big things for him this year, and I think this is only a couple weeks. I don't think this is a big injury, but I think that
he got hurt. He got hurt in Buffalo. He got hurt in Arizona. He got hurt in New Jersey. He got hurt in Edmonton. Other than that, he's been healthy.
Yeah,
healthy as a clam, Mike. Healthy as a clam.
Give the TBS guys some credit. They showed illustrated the shot deception for Bedard that I had talked about a few times, and that really, that allows him to get shots off it, whether he's a big guy or a small guy. It allows him to get shots off because he's a strong guy. And Anson Carter showed how he can get flex on the stick. The follow up on the wraparound was just a good play, but he really is going to have to work really hard to get his points, especially if Taylor Hall is not going to be there, because teams are going to start keying on him a little bit. And he's super talented, but I did laugh at whoever it was. I guess it was DraftKings or whatever. And if you want to talk about hot takery after his, goal, it's like, look at these 2-point games. Everybody in history had them. And there were two players that weren't great, that there were good players on the list. And one was Evander Kane. And I can't remember who the other one was, but, a lesser player than Evander Kane. And they had now they had Cooley at plus 800. And I'm like, I'll take the money on Cooley because this is 2 games. We're talking about 2 games.
I know.
This is so try and get crazy on the betting lines, and that's I just can't take it seriously.
No.
Well, can I again? This is Mike Agello pet peevery. On October the 12th.
It's the Mike pet peeve section of the show. Guys.
Yes. Anybody out there who watches, and our followers and listeners and watchers in Canada, they have the ability to watch the game on Sportsnet or TSN. But for somebody like myself or Russ, we watch the games on ESPN Plus. And ESPN Plus, they run the same commercial and every break of the game. This Nissan commercial,
commercial thing, Mike, is like a really big issue.
Oh my God! I mean,
friends. I go on another show sometimes called Word Killers, which is a show that it's another podcast that I do with friends.
Right.
I go on there only like once or twice a year, but they're really good. Their whole concept, we've talked about this. They've had me on to talk about streaming commercials on sports, and it's just the way commercials are being sold. It's kind of baffling to me that they're selling them the way they're selling them. They should just be sold like, you got a commercial. That's the commercial for streaming. That's the commercial for television.
Right.
But instead, they're trying to sell them separately, thinking that there's any reason to do that, and I don't see any. I don't see any benefit to that. I don't see any reason to do that at all. Like I don't see the benefit. Just imagine the same commercial in every break for every break. So there's 3 TV timeouts per period, and then in between periods with the same commercial every break. And then you get the downtime of this is a commercial break, which also really, I've actually talked to TSN and ESPN people about can I buy that space? Can I just buy that? This is a commercial break. There's a latest rumor from HockeyBuzz or whatever, just something to put up there that's like actually interesting. I would love to do that. they've never of course gotten back to me because they're threatened by me, as we know. So anyway, trying to get a laugh.
You are very scary, Yak.
I am intimidating. I'm absolutely an intimidating character. So Russ knows when I walk into the press box, everybody moves. It's like,
I should leave the show right now. I'm so intimidated.
All right, here we go. So let's get into the predictions for tonight because, by the way, Randy asked me what I think the Lindholm goal was fantastic. Lindholm's goal last night was fantastic. He's a fantastic player. He is.
Wait. I'm sorry. You didn't mention Mangiapane? I was waiting to hear if he's going to be a top 10 scorer in the league again, right?
You know me. I'm always like 1 year early on things. Just take what I said last year about Mangiapane, throw it in this year.
Well, one other thing, too. So watching the Carolina game, I don't know if I was impressed with Carolina because the Senators are going through turmoil with their roster because of Shane Pinto. And again, I just don't understand.
No, I don't.
Somebody tweeted this, and it makes complete sense. Why didn't they get Pinto locked up and deal with that before they did some of their other moves? Which is true because Pinto has no recourse as far as salary, and they should have been able to do that pretty easily. And now it's like Pierre Dorian's struggling to make that next move around the league to find money. Now Matthew Joseph, got offered around, he scored a goal.
He's not without talent. Come on,
I know he's a decent player. It's like
his contract's too high. His contract's way too high. But how you can let him?
Do you feel it's disrupting the team?
Oh, it's ridiculous. And now you can let a second/third liner disrupt your team. To me, is insane. I know he's scored 50 goals, but it's not he's not scored 50 goals.
But they're between a rock and a hard place because Norris is hurt, and Pinto's got him by the short hairs because they need him to play center, and they don't have the money to. So this is a failing by Dorian. He I think I don't disagree with some of the signings that he made, but spending $5 million on Tarasenko as a stopgap. Yeah, as a stopgap you could have got him cheaper as a stopgap to fill in for DeBrincat because you couldn't get DeBrincat signed. I mean, there's a lot of talent there. I think there's a lot of reason for optimism, but like I said yesterday, I think I predicted him fifth or sixth I think it was sixth in the Atlantic. And again, and last night, if you watched that game, it was the Korpisalo of Columbus. It was not the Korpisalo of LA.
Yeah, but they look disorganized. They look confused. I mean, that team looked good last year, and they did not look good last night. So it's the reality is and that Ottawa team, they should be good. I mean, they have they have the talent. They have the talent to be good. They have, granted, DeBrincat's loss I think is significant, but at the same time, they've done their defense, like you said, Mike. Yesterday, their defense now they have three solid three top 2 NHL defensemen on their team. I think, and that's not many teams can say that. So it's really it really just is really and then Jay says in this chat room that Tarasenko only played 13 minutes last night. I was surprised by that too. I just really think that when you get a guy in there with the pride of Tarasenko and who's playing for he took less money to show that what he can do and show that he's still an NHL player. I would get him out there and
look, we know why Tarasenko signed there. He signed there because it was the most money somebody would offer him, and he's going to get traded at the deadline. That's why he signed there.
Yeah, I mean exactly. That is if Ottawa's not in the playoff race, which is that's still that they're not. That's not a definite place to get traded.
No, it's not a definite, but again, they do need to get it together.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, anyway, let's move on to the show. Let's move on to the we got 25 minutes to do 16 teams here. So Western Conference predictions. The Western Conference compared to the Eastern Conference, just an overview real quick for me, in my opinion. This is a conference that is much closer together than the Eastern Conference. I think the points from the top to the bottom of this conference will be much less than the points from the top to the bottom of the Eastern Conference.
I can see that.
Yeah, I think this is a really hard division to predict who's going to make those 2 playoff spots. There could be any number of teams that you could put there. I really think that and who's even going to win this division? Who is the best team in this division is sort of out there. I mean, we'll get to what it is, but let's start with number 16, and this is a hard.
Well, no. Let's do it the way we did it yesterday. Let's do the 2 divisions.
Number 8, number 8 in the. Let's start in the West.
In the Pacific.
Yeah, the Pacific. So the Pacific, because they are 16 for me too, and they are Anaheim, and I don't want to put Anaheim there. I think that Anaheim is a team on the rise. I think that they're better than this, but I just think that.
No, they're not. I mean, again, this is a team that has great individual talent they're sort of the Montreal of the West. I love McTavish and Zegras, and Drysdale's coming back from the injury, but they're in. Troy Terry is a good player, but they're incomplete. They're really incomplete, and there is a reason why they're like when anybody is put on waivers, Anaheim picks them up because their roster is incomplete. I think they're going to be in competition, Russ, for Celebrini or Yzerman or one of the top picks, just what they need. But this is how you build teams. It's like Buffalo; they drafted first overall twice. Yeah, it's going to take a while. So, but they're definitely eighth in that division.
I feel like they're better than the Flyers.
No,
well, that's not saying much.
No, but I'm just saying they're the last place team in the other division.
No, they have better. They have some better long-term pieces, but they're not better.
Right.
Okay. All right.
I mean, the Flyers are right there, though.
Yeah, like Montreal. Montreal's got.
Anaheim. Are you 16 for Anaheim too, Russ?
8.
Yeah,
I mean 8.
8th. I'm sorry. 8th. I'm sorry.
Yes.
I apologize. I put this in the other one. 8th in the Pacific. All right. So jumping to 7th in the Pacific. I
have San Jose. San Jose is almost. I think they're a little better in certain positions than Anaheim. Their defense is pretty terrible, and now they have a kid like Thrun who they got in a trade who might be good, and there are some forward pieces. I'm looking forward to see what Eklund is going to be. There you go, your illegitimate son, Eklund. But
legitimate, Mike, actually.
Legitimate. There you go. But again, there's a lot of space on that roster, and really Greer is in a position here where he's sort of flushing that organization of, he got rid of Carlson. He probably, if he can, get rid of guys like Couture and Hurdle over the next couple of years, even though he committed long term to them, he might have to, because really they're not going anywhere right now. But they're in the midst of a rebuild. But I think they're a little further along in terms of talent right now than Anaheim. So I think Anaheim is 8, and I think San Jose is 7.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I also like Bordelot. Bordelot's on the team. They do have some good young guys. It's just Quinn's going to take a little while. There'll be a year in the next year or two where he probably gets them to play over their head, but this isn't the year.
We know Eklund's my son, Mike. We just don't know who the mother is. So that's the issue. All right, so the moving to number, I also have San Jose at 7 too. So we're in agreement with the bottom two teams. Let's go to the 6th team in this division, which I think we will probably which was where I have Arizona.
Nope, they're in the Central.
They're in the Central. That's not where I have Arizona. Again, I put these teams in the wrong order. I put them in my
I'm going
to guys. This is where I have Seattle. I'm sorry, Seattle.
Okay.
I put Seattle here at 6th. I know a lot of people think they're going to be great, and they think they're going to be fantastic, and I just don't know why people think that.
Well, I think they base it on the fact that they made the playoffs and won a round last year, but everything went right, and that's the thing. It's like, okay, now, you've got Grubauer and Joey Decord in goal. I think their defense is sort of middle of the road-ish. They've got some good forwards. I'd like to see how Shane Wright is utilized, if at all. I mean, maybe he gets sent down to the AHL for more seasoning. I'm not I had them at 6. I'm not totally enthused about Seattle. There might be a little bit of a step back there this year.
You got them at 6 as well, Mike. Is that true?
Yep. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. You and I agree on the first 3 teams. That's crazy.
Yeah, it's shocking.
I've got the Canucks here. I don't care how many goals they scored yesterday.
Right.
Their defense isn't good. They do have great offensive pieces, no question about it. But I think they're just going to start to fade at some point. They've been doing that the last couple of years because they're not a complete team, and so I think they're going to have trouble.
Now I have them at 5, and the interesting thing here about, and I've heard Elliot and Pierre LeBrun talk about this with Pettersson's tenuous contract status. If they don't have a good year and they're not competitive, Pettersson may want out of there.
Yes, that's a very possible thing that could happen.
And that's the thing. They brought in Tocchet. They made some changes. They got rid of Ekman Larson. They're trying to trade Connor Garland, and nobody wants him. Again, there's a lot of dysfunction in that organization, a lot of dysfunction on that roster. a lot of sort of, I mean, there's some talent there. Again, it's like, JT Miller and Besser and Pedersen is really good, but there's just not enough of it in the right spots. And Demko, it's like Sorokin with the Islanders in the East. Demko is going to have to stand on his head and not throw up to be able to for them to make the playoffs. And at fifth in that division, they're going to be battling for a wild card, but I don't think they're going to win one of the wild card spots.
Who is where you have? Do you both have Canucks?
I had Vancouver 5. Russ had Vancouver 6.
Right. So my 5 is Seattle.
Okay.
Looking at it like, yes, they overachieved. Their goaltending overachieved. Dave Haxtell made the playoffs, which means by the Dave Haxtell rules of the NHL, he won't make the playoffs the year after, or maybe ever again. So I'm still sticking with history here, and that's what I'm doing.
No, I think that I agree, and I think that Seattle, they just don't have stability on their roster either. There's no real sense of I mean, if they're thinking about sending Shane Wright back, what the heck is happening? This team is
it's just, that's Haxtell rules.
It's just crazy. Example. I mean, that's just nuts. So me for 5, I have Calgary. That's where I have Calgary put at 5th. So I have 5th Calgary, 6th Seattle.
Okay.
8 Anaheim. So we have it, Mike. Mike, who do you have at 5?
5 I had Vancouver. I had Seattle 6, and I had 5.
4 then.
My 4. You want me to do 4th?
Go ahead.
My 4th is the Edmonton Oilers. My 4, because again, McDavid, Draisaitl, fantastic. They've got some decent secondary forwards in Nugent Hopkins and Kane and Hyman. I think their depth at forward is better. I think their defense right now, Ekholm is hurt. I think the bottom half of their defense is still essentially AHL caliber. I mean, Ekholm is great when he's healthy. Nurse is really good, and Bouchard is a really good young defenseman. But Broberg is not great. Brett Kulak. I mean, they're just and the goaltending is substandard. I mean, they at least Campbell is. I mean, Skinner was a Calder Trophy. They should go with Skinner. They should run Skinner into the ground, play him 60 games because that's going to be their only hope of making the playoffs. And I think they'll probably be one of the 2 wildcard teams, but it's going to be close for them because I think their flaws will be apparent this year.
So I'll tell you my number 4 in a minute, but Mike is very much like Paul McGuire, who played for the Buffalo Bills and was on TV and would pick the Jets to lose every week, and they went 7-1 to start the season, and then they ended up 9-7. But those first 7 weeks, he kept picking them to lose. And if you go back and look, Mike has picked Edmonton probably in this spot every year.
They're always getting worse. And because it's the ex Maple Leaf factor, Russ. It's the more ex Maple Leafs.
No, it's not. It's
Campbell,
not.
Hyman. It's
not.
Also McDavid, who still should be a Maple Leaf, and everyone's
no, he will be a Maple Leaf in 3 years. But
I wonder if you had Matt Murray in goal, what Mike would have said. Anyhow. That's what I wonder. But anyhow,
I'm glad you brought that up, Russ, because I said something on Twitter yesterday, or excuse me, X, that I think it was completely dead on accurate. That those who were critical of Kyle Dubas in Toronto for making the decision to go with Samsonov and Matt Murray instead of signing Campbell to the extension. Look at what Campbell's doing. And even though Matt Murray is out the entire year this year with double hip surgery, he's better. That decision was better for Toronto going with him and going with Samsonov than going with Campbell, because Campbell, they would not have made the playoffs with Jack Campbell in goal in Toronto.
Better to have a player than not have a player, Mike. I'm still going to feel that way. Sorry.
Yeah, your hatred is totally.
You're talking about guys who can't play.
There's no.
You can't even argue this. I mean, I know.
Better can't argue it.
Better to have loved than lost.
Better to be a good pickup by Samsonov. They got lucky on Samsonov. Remember, they got lucky because of the way Samsonov became available to them. That was not supposed to happen.
Well, it did.
But it did. But they should have just been married.
Plan. That's a fair point.
God has a plan.
It's really true. Yeah. It wasn't their plan.
Anyhow,
yes.
Number 4.
All right, so that's
Calgary. Calgary's my number 4, and it's not because Mangiapane won't score 50 goals. He might. We also might get hit by another 5 asteroids too. But Calgary, I just still don't trust the goaltending. I think their defense isn't great. I think it's okay. And I look at their lines, and I mean, Kachuk's got to be an amazing play driver again. He's got to get like 120 points for them
Kachuk?
to really do it. I think.
Yeah.
Kachuk?
They
No,
have a
not
chance
Kachuk,
to make the playoffs. I don't want to say they're out of the playoffs.
Not Kachuk. He's in Florida.
Oh, sorry, Huberto.
Yeah.
My bad. I want to say Calgary has a chance to make the playoffs. They do.
Yeah.
But Randy, I said the wrong name. Imagine that. My basic point is that I don't love the offensive pieces they have. I definitely don't love their defense. They do need better goaltending. It's a tough division. But I think fourth could still possibly they're a bubble team. I just look at them and I say they're a bubble team.
Well, I have them third, which means they make the playoffs. And the reason now the only thing that scares me here is if they can't get Lindholm or Hannafin signed, that they might trade them before the deadline because they're going to lose them for nothing. Now, if they're in the playoff race, they probably won't, and they'll just say la vie, and they'll just lose them. But those are assets. Those are, especially Lindholm with a market in terms of centers that everybody's going to be looking at because there are not many of them out there. They could reap the whirlwind in terms of a trade when it comes to trading him if they're in the playoff race, then they might not. But I think there's enough talent there. I think they're more complete than Edmonton. They don't have as much offense as Edmonton, but I think their defense is better than Edmonton. And I think their goaltending is by leaps and bounds better than Edmonton with Markstrom and Vladar.
I will give you goaltending for sure, but
I don't know leaps and bounds, but it's better than Edmonton.
No, Markstrom, if he's good, if he's the good Markstrom, and Bedard is shelter. So for 4, this is where I have the Vegas Golden Knights, and a lot of people are gonna.
Oh my God! Wow. Okay.
I am not. I mean, listen. I know what the Knights did last year. I was impressed with everything they did, and they were. I mean, I'm a huge Eichel fan. I like them, but I don't believe in their goaltending, honestly. And I'm not. People are going to go nuts on me for this.
Logan Thompson or Hill.
But you've been trying to trade Logan Thompson for the last 3 months.
You're trying to trade Logan Thompson, so I don't believe that they're going to use him. If it was Logan Thompson, I would be okay. But I think. But I don't think that. I think they signed Hill, and I think that that's where they're going to go. So I think the reality is that they're going to stay with him. And if they stay with him, I don't think he is a top-ranked goalie in this league. Now, I'm not saying that they necessarily need to have one, but they're also, I mean, as good as they are when they're good, they're that bad when they're bad. They're a team that's a really funky team. Like, they get on a streak and they're good, and they win the Stanley Cup for sure. But there were points last year when you watched them that they just couldn't get out of their own way. They have some guys who look old at times. They look older. I mean, Marchessault found his way again, but I do think that losing some of the players they had to let go of here in the cap situation was, not the greatest thing. The kid they lost, losing Riley, that's a thing for them.
Riley Smith, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, before that, losing the kid they lost to Buffalo in the Eichel trade. I think that, I mean, you're
talking
looking
Krebs,
at right. You're looking at guys who are, and both those guys in the Edmonton in the Eichel trade are going to be good for Buffalo. So I think that, I think the reality is they are a win now team, and they did win now. But whether or not they are maintain winning now, I don't see it.
Russ, who did you have third?
Third, I have the Kings, and I'll tell you what, because I think they're going to be able to maintain themselves like they did last year. And I think they will trade for a goalie at the deadline because they have assets. And I think that will put them in position. So I think they just have to stay a little over 500 or NHL 500. So I think that's where we're looking at with the Kings. I hope Byfield does better. I just don't understand people that are like, oh, look, he's a bust. Like, give it a break, man. I mean, look how long it took Velarde to kind of come around. Now, he had injuries and stuff, but he's a bigger guy, and sometimes those bigger guys take some time. So, Brant Clark, he won't be up this year unless they really, really need him, but that's fine. They've got some really good players in the minors that are close too. So if there are injuries, they have some good guys that can come up and actually take their place. So I think that's where I have the Kings. I don't care what happened opening night.
Yeah. Who do you have third?
Third is where I have the Canucks. And
Wow.
this was before I did this before yesterday's game. I'm just been high on them before. Like I said, I think that they have. When I look at last year, all the start they got off to was just such a deep hole to dig out of. And they really, if they get off to a half decent start, that's why I don't kind of blame them for blowing a team out last night. I mean, when they lost all those 1-goal games last year, I would have let my team go too and blow out the Oilers, because the Oilers, you're right, Mike, they're not exactly a team that will stop and not blow you out. You're right about that. And so I think that it was perfectly fine. And I think what we're going to see from Elias Pettersson is a major year where people are going to be putting him in a category higher than they have him right now, which is he's going to enter that McKinnon McDavid world, and it's going to be interesting to see when he does.
He's going to for them to be third in the division, he's going to have to be in the race for the Hart. Because
he will be, and I mean he's fantastic to watch. I've said it before. He is.
Oh, no, he's an amazing player. Don't get me wrong.
He's the closest thing to skating wise. I know you hate this, Mike, but I'm going to say it again. Skating wise, the way he moves, the way he passes, the way he shoots, he's got so much Gretzky in him. But he's he's not at Gretzky's level, of course. But there's so many similaries to their games. Like if people didn't watch Gretzky. Is that what you? He is. Like if people didn't get a chance.
No, that's Michael Nylander. That's Michael Nylander. Come on.
If a lot of people out there never got to see Gretzky live, they just picture a twice as good Elias Pettersson.
The problem is, Zach, and not to get on the Gretzky thing, but the problem is, and I talked about this with a veteran reporter, Gretzky from point A to point B was not the fastest skater in the league. Pettersson might be. He's up there. Gretzky was extremely elusive and basically knew where he was going and he had to go 3 steps before everybody else did. That was his genius.
Too. And Pettersson's got he has his head up and looks at the puck less than any player in the league. Like he's incredible when he's got the puck. Like he has
a great feel for the game.
His feel for the game is ridiculous. His shot is ridiculous, and people like Gretzky. Gretzky had a good shot too. Remember, he scored
He didn't have a
shot. Not
like that, but he did put up 90 some goals, right? So,
but I'll just say this: it's Pettersson, again, with a lot of these players, the key is health. I mean, last night, like I said, he freight trained Cody Ceci, and I love seeing that because I love clean hits, and that was a completely clean hit. But physically, early in his career, he took some hits, he got hurt. He needs to be more. Now, apparently, he's put himself in fantastic shape, and if he did that and he stays healthy, then he could be in contention for the Hart, and he could get them into the playoffs. But I'll just do it quickly. Second,
on their defense, you're talking Cole, Myers, Hirose, and Juleson. Yeah. After Hronek and Hughes, that's a massive drop off. I don't know how they
do 1, 2, and 3 for everybody because we're running out of time a little bit here.
Yeah. Two was the Kings for me. First was Vegas.
2 for me is the Knights. 1 is the Edmonton Oilers. Read my lips. It's the Edmonton Oilers.
Not a chance in hell.
1 is Edmonton. 2 is the Kings. 3 is Vancouver. That's my top 3 in that.
Okay.
Step over to the. And we don't think we have to get in.
We don't have to waste time on 8. It's Chicago. I mean, they're rebuilding. But play Bedard like crazy. Play Korchinski like crazy. They're gonna suck. But those are 2 young talents. So they're 8.
And Arizona for me is next after that.
I have Arizona 7 too.
The same 7 and 8 with Arizona and Anaheim. So we're catching up. The game in space. Now we get to 6th.
I have the St. Louis Blues.
Okay.
I think the only way that they're higher than this is if Hofer takes over for Binnington, because Binnington is, I think, what's that?
I disagree.
No, I'm saying that's their only hope because Binnington. Binnington has
star in the Leafs. Mike would be like, "Oh my God, Binnington's so good."
Binnington has slipped the last 2 years. He's more concerned with fighting than he is with stopping pucks. That's his problem.
Well, the year hasn't started. I'm fine with Binnington.
Okay. Well, who do you have 6th?
6th, I have Nashville Predators, because I don't believe in Saros. I don't believe in their offense. I do
Right.
like some of the young players like Evangelista. I think it's going to take time to retool this roster.
Mhm.
They're not the fastest team. They're not even the best defensive team anymore. I'm not even sure what they are.
Yeah. Who do you have sixth?
For sixth, I have Winnipeg. Is where I put Winnipeg
Wow.
is sixth. I'm like like where you are with Nashville. I'm there with Winnipeg. Russ. It's kind of like a lot of things you said. Like I'm not big on their goalie. I am bigger on Saros. But we'll see where Winnipeg goes. Last night, it's one game. But this, like I said, this was written before that anyway.
I have Nashville 5. I won't. I'll just reiterate. Like I'm not a big believer in Saros. I don't think they have enough offense. They do have some young players that I think can take a step forward. But there's not enough there. But I think they're better than obviously the teams that I picked behind them. Who do you have 5, Ak?
5 for me would be St. Louis.
Okay, Russ.
Russ 5.
Minnesota. I think Minnesota.
Ooh.
At the
Okay.
point where I think they're slightly overrated now.
You're always the Minnesota's underrated guy.
I know, but now I think they're slightly overrated because
they went from underrated to overrated. There's no
because of the goaltending. Because of the goaltending, that's why.
Yeah, but the funny thing is, I'm a believer in Gustafsson and Fleury. Okay, so I have Winnipeg 4.
Okay.
And I have Winnipeg making the playoffs. So as the wild card.
Yeah.
Along with Edmonton. Edmonton is the wild card in the Pacific, and Winnipeg is the wild card in the Central.
4 is where I have Nashville.
I have St. Louis 4, and I do think they have a good chance of making the playoffs. I actually like some of the things they did, and I think Binnington will have a good year. I disagree with Mike.
I think the Barry Trotz thing in Nashville is going to be bigger than people realize. I think that this is a kind of a recall back to the old Nashville teams that no one ever picked to make the playoffs, but always came in 8th, and that's where I have them. they're going to make. They're the second wild card to me. They're 4th in this division.
We probably all have the same top 2, but so I have Minnesota. I have Minnesota 3.
I have the Jets 3.
Okay, I like Minnesota's goaltending. I like the signings that they've made over the last few days. Locking up Zuccarello, locking up Foligno, locking up Hartman on pretty team-friendly deals, which they have to since they've got $14 million in dead money. So Guerin is doing a pretty good job there. The key for them is guys like Marco Rossi, actually getting past what happened with them with long COVID and being able to be a contributor.
Right. I've got Colorado 3.
Well, I guess not. Okay.
Yeah, no, and I've got so my top 3 are Dallas number 1, Minnesota number 2, and Colorado 3.
And my top 3 is Dallas number 1, Colorado number 2, and Minnesota number 3.
Yeah, I've got Dallas, Colorado, and then Winnipeg. I think Winnipeg, and this is before the signings. I just think their coaching has gotten better to the point where I think things are going to settle down now with the locker room change that they made, and I think they can make the playoffs.
My prediction is the Dallas Stars are winning the Stanley Cup.
Oh, I'm not even ready to predict the Stanley Cup.
I know, but if we have to make a preseason prediction, Dallas is my favorite to win the Cup.
Yeah, mine would be Edmonton.
I like Edmonton's chances. I like, like the Devils, the Hurricanes. I'm not ready yet for the Cup, but that's where I'm sort of.
Yeah, and I mean we can wait until the playoffs.
Carter will win the Vezina, and
oh my god!
Who's winning the Vezina?
Carter Hart.
Winning the Vezina.
Oh yeah.
Be the first Vezina winning goalie ever on the last place team in the league.
That would be an awesome thing to see happen.
I'm just kidding.
I'm sure in the original 6, somebry won a Vezina.
Sure that happened, yeah. But
Harry Lumley
is going to be the only.
I don't even think George Vezina won the Vezina on a last place team.
Maybe not.
Somebody had to be best goalie on the 6th place team, I would think.
Yeah, I mean, why I put Colorado there is just I don't see them as a regular season team that's going to. I also think the top 3 teams in this division are going to be so far separated from everybody else. Like I think
I
Those
just
three
feel
teams
bad
are
Tony
going.
Soprano's not here. We're all saying great things about the Stars, and he's not even here.
I know, and with a lot of weird things. I never go high on the Stars, and you always go high on Minnesota. So
Right.
it's some weird things there. So like I actually, this is the
weird.
first time I've ever picked the Stars to win the
See,
division.
it's pretty bad when I'm the voice of reason.
Yeah.
So my 8 teams, just to be clear, in the ranking that there would be 1 Edmonton, 2 Dallas, 3 Minnesota, 4 Colorado, 5 LA, 6 Vancouver, 7 Vegas, 8 Nashville. That would be
you guys are just so detached from reality when it comes to the friggin' Edmonton Oilers. My God,
or after one game, are you just really jumping?
No, I made these picks before they got pistol whipped by the Canucks.
Oh.
The Canucks would have pistol whipped anybody last night. I really felt
but it's not based on one game. It's based on they don't have the goaltending to win, and they don't have a deep enough defense to win. Other than that, they're great.
Deadline.
Yeah, and he's going to win the Vezina.
No, but they could get Carter Hart at the deadline.
Well, Russ, if they do, then I have to reevaluate my selection. But I'm
thinking, Mike, when you make look.
I want to
say this. I didn't look at Edmonton and say these are the 2 goalies that are going to end the season with them. I didn't look at it that way. I looked at it like they're going to play to a certain degree. They probably won't be in first place for a while. They will get a goalie at the deadline this time, and this time it will propel them. And it might be.
I'm looking at the here and the now and what is present with this team, and right now it's barely enough to get into the playoffs.
Barely enough.
I think both are very good goalies. Honestly, I think Skinner's a good goalie too. I think Campbell's a better goalie than Skinner. I've said this before. But I think
you talk about them like they're the California Golden Seals.
Exactly. This team finished really high last year. They made a couple rounds the year before that.
Conference final before, more recently than a team that wears blue and white. I know that.
You want to know something? Russ? You're casting aspersions on Gilles Malache and Gary Suitcase Smith.
Yeah.
They're better than Skinner and Campbell.
What about when they made it to the conference final, Mike?
There's reality. Yeah, and do you remember what happened? They got swept.
It doesn't matter. They made it there.
Oh, Sippity.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah, no, they've got a couple good players on their team, Mike.
Yeah,
What? Okay. Did anybody hear what
you yourself said? They're better offensively than they were.
The same thing. David and Draisaitl look great, and then the rest basically are garbage. That's what you said.
No, I said McDavid and Draisaitl are great. I said Hyman and Nugent Hopkins and Kane are pretty good. They're deeper up front than they were over the last few years. Their defense, half of it is good, half of it is below average, and their goaltending is not good. I think that is a reasonable and fair analysis of that team. That is not the analysis of a team that's going to win the President's Trophy, for crying out loud, which is what you guys are predicting. You guys are predicting them to finish first. You said they're going to finish. You said they're going to finish first in the Western Conference.
Yeah, they'll finish first in the Western Conference. I don't think they're going to. I don't think the Rangers are going to.
Doesn't mean they're going to win the President's Trophy, though.
I would put the Rangers ahead of them if I was to pick one of those.
Don't put words in our mouth, Mike.
There we have it. So for those of you who want to, Mike,
you do it all the time.
That's true.
Do you want to bet? We should bet Mike's salary.
You can't bet anything, Eck. You never pay off on your bet. It's not even fun. It's not even fun to bet you anymore.
I've been waiting for those friggin' cookies forever.
You haven't paid off one bet in the time I've been on the show. I've probably been on the show. I don't know. This is like purgatory.
I win 95% of these bets, Russ. I win 95% of the bets.
You win 95% of the bets. You don't pay.
No, I win them. You don't have to pay when you win. That's
right.
That's the reality.
But you don't pay when you don't. You don't.
And I have paid up bets. And I take serious offense to that.
Yeah.
I haven't seen you in a while, Mike. It's like there's been a couple of things happening, like world pandemics and stuff like that. Remember, without the buzz, it's just hockey. We will be back again tomorrow, and so enjoy a bunch of teams starting tonight. Enjoy the games. Yeah, that's it.